On April 5th, 2022, we saw a complete in-box Ocarina of Time Collector's Edition WATA graded 9.0 sell for $1,440 at open auction, which in itself isn't that surprising. We've already seen plenty of high-grade CIB video games commanding large premiums at open auction. It's usually a game that's either very rare in its self-defined, maybe a rare variant, or a game that's very popular but in a very rare grade, a super high grade. Simply the act of grading a complete in-box game isn't some magic money multiplier that guarantees you're gonna make a return. You really do have to have something special in most instances. Right now, the only way you can even go and grade a CIB video game is through WATA games, and the minimum price to grade a CIB game right now is $170, which is insane, right? That is a lot of money, but it is intentionally a lot of money. WATA did raise their rates a year ago now, a little bit more than a year ago now, in order to stop submissions, which I'm sure it worked, because with a price of $170, you truly can only send in the best of the best, the rarest of the rare. Anything else, and let's be honest, at $170 per game, you can just go and buy a different game instead of grading the one you already own, especially if you're just a collector and not looking to resell. But the reason I bring all of this up is that CGC Video Games has now been announcing that they will grade CIB video games as well as sealed. And that's where this gets a lot more interesting and why I think we're about to see a big shift towards CIB game grading. So let's talk about it. Should you be grading your CIB games? What is this going to do to the market, and how can you best prepare for it? As always, thanks to every single Patreon who helps support the channel, as well as the Greg gang. I can't do it without you guys. Let's do this. A lot of people will ask me, should I get my CIB games graded? I have a lot of great condition games. Is it worth getting them graded? And for the most part, my answer has always been no. It's not worth getting your CIB games graded. And a lot of that has to do with how prohibitive the pricing is. Like I said, at $170 a game, it's very hard for it to be worth it from a purely monetary aspect. If we're talking about anything other than vintage cardboard games, there aren't even a lot of CIB games that are worth $170. But now with CGC entering in, and it really is going to depend how much money they charge, but assuming that CIB grading comes in at a normal charge of say $40, $50 per game, all of a sudden the floodgate opens for people to send in their CIBs for grading. Just really quick, if you don't know how this works, with WATA CIB grading, they will grade your box, manual, and cartridge, and that will make up your overall grade. It's 50% the box, 30% the cartridge, and 20% the manual. WATA will also grade and note any game-specific inserts that might come in the game. This could be your maps for Chrono Trigger, registration cards, anything like that will also receive a numerical grade on the back of the case, but that will not affect your overall grade. At this time, we still don't know how CGC is going to do it, but that's how CIB grading works, just in case you don't know. So like I said, let's say they introduce CIB grading at $50 a game. I know personally that I have a lot of CIB games that I will send off for grading. Some of them are in great condition. Some of them are just rare games that I know I'll never play anyway. And some of them are just for nostalgia purposes. I also do fully understand and recognize that a lot of people simply aren't going to want to grade CIB games. It's one thing to grade a sealed game because, let's be honest, no one is going to open up anyway. No one needs to open it up anyway. With the CIB game though, it's already in its playable state. So I do understand that this is going to get even more backlash than sealed collecting has already gotten. But regardless of how you may personally feel about it, I do believe this is going to start becoming a lot more popular in the next year. And let's say it does. Let's say it does become more popular. People are sending in CIB PS2 games, GameCube, Dreamcast, PS1 games. What would that mean for the market? For all of those consoles that aren't vintage cardboard, it will likely mean an increase in prices, especially for near mint, actual mint copies of those games. Right now, the actual delta between getting a 9.5 10 condition copy versus an 8.5 9 isn't that big. I believe a lot of people are doing themselves a massive disservice by not upgrading the condition of their copies now to truly mint CIB copies. The gap between the two just isn't large enough. And if you disagree with that, please put it in the comment section below. I'm speaking from what I've already seen take place with vintage consoles, where we see now, like I showed with that Ocarina of Time, it can sell for $1,440 in mint condition. The box on that Ocarina of Time is a 9.4. That is incredible condition, especially especially on an open game. It's weird to think about, but in a lot of ways, finding an open copy of the game in high-grade mint condition is more difficult than finding the high-grade sealed copy. When we talk about an open game, it's now fully possible for the opening flap to be creased, or for the manual inside to have damage, or for the cartridge to have damage. Which, like, yes, sure, when you find a sealed one, it has to still be in perfect shape, but there's less pieces that could also be messed up in the process. Of course, there's going to be a higher population of open games, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a higher population of mint copies surviving. It's kind of weird to think about. We kind of need to wait until pop reports give us more information to see how valid that might be, but that's at least how I feel about it. But anyways, if people do start to decide to send in these jewel case style games, DVD style games, you're going to see the delta between mint copies and not mint copies get a lot larger. All of a sudden, finding a raw mint copy of these games is, one, going to cost you a lot more, or two, going to be near impossible on eBay because dealers are going to start scooping it up, because resellers are going to start scooping them up, getting them graded, and selling them to a more premium crowd of people. What also will happen though is that there's going to be false correlation between any graded game going up in price versus only the mint copies. It makes sense that a 9.4, 9.6 copy of, say, Zelda Collector's Edition on GameCube sells for a massive premium. That would make sense to see. It's a super high grade copy. However, what we also will see is people sending in 8.0 copies of that game, and they probably will sell at premiums that just aren't justified. Understanding the actual conditional rarity of the items you are going to be buying matters a lot. If we're talking about cardboard games, the average person's mint condition probably isn't a WATA 9.0. If we're talking about jewel cases and stuff, the average person's mint very well might likely be above 9.0. That's what's going to be very interesting to see with this. Where does the average GameCube game lie? Where does the average PS2 game or PS1 game lie on the grading scales? Both CGC and WATA. I assume CGC is going to grade these other consoles as CIB. They have not announced officially yet. But if that is the case, if this is what happens, people start swallowing up CIB games, sending them off for grading, and selling them at a premium. What can you do to prepare for it? What should you be doing right now? It's kind of funny because when the 3DS shop is announced that they were going to be closing, or the Wii U shop, everyone ran out to go and buy Wii U or 3DS stuff to prepare for the closures. They wanted to get ahead of the race. And that's super obvious to people. That is exactly what you should be doing. I don't know if people just don't understand as much or don't pay attention as much, or maybe they just don't care, but the obvious answer is that you should be upgrading your stuff now rather than waiting a year to do so. If you've been on the fence about getting an upgrade, if you've been toying with the idea of upgrading a copy that isn't quite mint, get the mint condition copy now. Upgrade your GameCube games, upgrade your PS2, your Wii U, your PS1. Get the upgrade now so you don't have to pay for it later, or so that it's basically impossible later with everyone else scooping them up and sending them in for grading. If the price to grade a CIB game is somewhere in the $50 range, which I'm pretty sure when WATA was first doing CIB grading, they were charging $40 per game. 40 bucks is not a lot of money to grade a CIB game. People can take risks at that, people can take shots, and there are dealers who can just send stuff off and not have to care about it. I'm a small player in this, and I have enough money at 40 bucks a game to just send CIB games away and test the market. And don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. I'm not saying run out and buy every CIB game you can before people start grading them, oh my god. I'm purely saying that if you're looking for actual mint condition copies, if you're looking to upgrade your existing copies, you should do that now rather than later. This might cause a short-term rise in a lot of CIB games across the board, but like I said, be patient about that. That will sort itself out. Kind of like how right now we have 7.5 copies of Mario Bros. 3 selling for $500. As people send more and more copies off for grading, the average condition copies will become more plentiful. Prices on those will likely go down before they continue to go up. Mint condition copies, high-grade copies, that's a whole nother story. It's going to be interesting to see how that one folds out. Let me know how you feel down in the comment section. Hopefully this doesn't create a whole bunch of FOMO in you. I just want to get my thoughts out there, articulate my thoughts before the CIB grading does happen. Let me know how you feel in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video.